Stay with me, because sometimes the truth doesn't scream, it records. The footage begins before anyone realizes it matters. A quiet corner of a luxury nursery bathed in soft amber light. The kind designed to soothe a newborn who hasn't even arrived yet. The kind that makes everything look safe even when it isn't. And in the top right corner of that frame, a tiny blinking icon pulses red every 3 seconds. Steady, patient, unblinking. A nanny cam installed just 12 hours earlier by a woman who believed she was preparing for motherhood, not documenting the moment her entire life would fracture. Emily Carter moves through the room slowly, one hand resting protectively over her 7-month pregnancy, her reflection briefly catching in the glass of a white crib that cost more than most people's monthly rent, her world defined by silence, by absence, by the growing distance of a man who once filled every corner of this house with promises, Daniel Whitmore. A billionaire whose name carried weight in boardrooms and headlines, whose voice could move markets, whose presence tonight is nowhere to be found, at least not yet. The clock on the wall reads 8:12 p.m., and every second feels louder than the last. Emily glances at her phone. No new messages, just the faint gray word seen beneath the last text she sent hours ago. Her breathing slows, controlled, measured, the way her doctor taught her, for seconds in, for seconds out, because stress isn't good for the baby, because she has learned to make herself smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. But something is shifting, something invisible pressing against the edges of this carefully constructed calm. The house is too still, too perfect, like a photograph no one dares to touch. And then, just at the edge of the frame, the hallway light flickers on, not dramatic, not loud, just enough to change the shadows, just enough to signal that she is no longer alone. Emily doesn't turn immediately. She pauses, listening. The faint echo of footsteps on polished marble traveling through the open doorway, slow, deliberate, unfamiliar in their timing, and the camera captures everything without judgment, without context, just image after image stacking into something that will later become undeniable. The door opens wider, and though the sound is barely audible, the shift in the air is unmistakable. This is the moment where everything changes, though no one inside that room says it out loud. Not yet. The tension stretches thin, like glass about to crack. Emily finally turns, her expression not fear, not yet, just confusion. Just the quiet question that so many people ask before they realize they should have been afraid all along. And somewhere far away, miles from this perfectly staged room, a secure server registers a new file, timestamped, encrypted, uploaded automatically, waiting, because evidence doesn't rush, it doesn't panic. It simply waits for the right eyes to find it. And by the time anyone understands what they're looking at, it will already be too late to pretend it never happened. The red light keeps blinking, steady, indifferent, recording a story that hasn't finished unfolding, not even close. The house does not warn you when something shifts. It simply changes the air. And at 8:17 p.m. the silence inside the Whitmore residence feels different, heavier, like something unseen has already crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Emily Carter stands near the nursery doorway, her hand still resting against the frame as if it is the only thing keeping her steady. She hears the sound clearly now, not imagined, not distant. Footsteps moving through the main hallway with a rhythm she recognizes but does not expect. Too early, too deliberate. Daniel Whitmore was not supposed to be home yet. Not after the message he sent that morning about a late meeting, not after the pattern of absence that had become routine. Her breathing tightens, not fear, not yet, just awareness, the kind that arrives before understanding. She takes a step forward, then another, each movement careful, measured, as if moving too fast might confirm something she is not ready to face. The hallway stretches long and polished beneath soft recessed lighting, every surface reflecting a version of her that looks smaller the farther she walks. She reaches the corner and pauses, listening again, voices now, low but unmistakable. One of them Daniel's, smooth, controlled, the same voice that once reassured her, the same voice that now carries a tone she has never heard directed at her, lighter, almost amused. And another voice, unfamiliar but unmistakably present, a woman's voice, confident, unhurried, as if she belongs here, as if this house has already accepted her. Emily does not move for a moment, her body still while her mind races ahead, connecting pieces she had tried not to connect. Late nights, unanswered calls, the quiet distance that had no explanation. She steps forward again, slower now, until the edge of the living room comes into view. And there, reflected in the dark surface of the floor-to-ceiling glass, she sees them before they see her. Daniel standing near the bar, his posture relaxed in a way she has not seen in months, his attention focused entirely on the woman beside him. The woman who laughs softly at something he says, a sound that does not belong in this house. Not like this, not tonight. Emily's hand tightens slightly against her side, her breath catching for just a second before she steadies it again, for seconds in, for seconds out. She does not speak immediately, because saying something would make it real, would turn this moment from suspicion into confirmation. And for one fragile second she allows herself to hope that there is an explanation she has not considered. But Daniel turns then, just enough for his reflection to shift, and their eyes meet through the glass, not directly, not fully, but enough for recognition to pass between them without a word, enough for the air in the room to change completely. The woman beside him follows his gaze, her expression not surprised, not embarrassed, just curious, as if she is observing something expected, something already decided. And Emily understands then that this moment is not an interruption, it is a reveal, something that has been happening long before she walked into it. The silence stretches, longer than it should, longer than anything comfortable, until finally Emily takes one more step forward into the light, into the space where there is no reflection to soften the truth. Her voice when it comes is quiet, controlled, almost steady, and it carries a single question that holds far more than the words themselves. She asks what is going on, and for a brief second Daniel does not answer, not because he does not know what to say, but because he is deciding how much of the truth he is willing to show. And somewhere behind them, in a room designed for safety and new beginnings, a small red light continues to blink, capturing every second, every silence, every choice. Without hesitation, without judgment, recording the moment when everything that was hidden begins to surface, and none of them realize yet that this is the beginning of something far bigger than a conversation, far more permanent than a mistake. Daniel does not raise his voice, he does not rush to explain, and that is what makes the moment feel even colder. He simply sets his glass down with deliberate precision, as if this is just another controlled situation, another conversation he can manage. His eyes remain on Emily now, steady, unreadable, and for a brief second there is something there, not guilt, not fear, just calculation. The kind of silence that powerful men use when they believe they still have control. The woman beside him does not step away. She does not look down or apologize. Instead, she shifts her weight slightly, her posture relaxed, her presence in the room unapologetic, as if she has already accepted her place in a story Emily is only just beginning to understand. The air feels thinner, harder to breathe, and Emily becomes aware of every small detail at once. The faint hum of the air conditioning, the distant ticking of a clock somewhere in the house, the way her own heartbeat sounds louder than anything else. She repeats her question, softer this time, but more direct, and Daniel finally responds, his voice calm, almost detached. He says her name like it is an inconvenience, like this moment is poorly timed rather than deeply wrong. He tells her they need to talk, a phrase so simple it almost feels rehearsed, something people say when they are already standing on the other side of a decision. Emily does not move closer. She does not retreat either. She stays exactly where she is, grounded by something deeper than fear now, something closer to clarity, the kind that comes when denial finally breaks. She looks at him, really looks at him, and for the first time she notices what has been missing for months, the absence of warmth, the absence of hesitation, the absence of anything that connects him to the life they built together. The woman speaks then, her voice smooth, controlled. She introduces herself without being asked, as if this is a formal meeting rather than a betrayal unfolding in real time. Her tone carries confidence, not aggression, which somehow makes it sharper, more intentional. Emily does not respond to her. Her attention never leaves Daniel, because the truth she needs is not from a stranger. It is from the man who once promised her everything. Daniel exhales slowly, as if preparing to explain a business decision, and he begins to speak about timing, about circumstances, about how things have changed. The words come in careful order, structured, polished, but empty of anything that sounds like remorse. He talks about distance, about how they have grown apart, about how the situation is complicated, and Emily listens without interrupting, her expression still, her breathing controlled, but inside something is shifting, not breaking, not collapsing, but rearranging itself into something stronger, something colder. She realizes that this conversation is not about fixing anything. It is about ending something that has already been decided without her. The silence returns again, heavier now, and for a moment no one moves. The room feels suspended in time, like everything is waiting for the next choice, the next word, the next step that will define what happens next. Emily's hand rests lightly over her stomach, a small, unconscious gesture that grounds her in something real, something that still matters, and she speaks again, her voice steady, asking one question that cuts through everything else. She asks how long. And this time Daniel does not look away. He answers, not immediately, but without hesitation when he does. And the number he gives is not loud, not dramatic, but it lands with a weight that cannot be undone. The woman beside him watches quietly, observing, measuring, as if she is already thinking ahead to what comes next. And in the distance, unseen and unheard, a small device continues its silent work, capturing every word, every pause, every truth revealed in a room where nothing can be taken back, because some moments are not meant to stay private. Some moments are meant to be witnessed, even if the people inside them do not realize it yet. The number does not echo. It settles, quiet and irreversible, and Emily Carter feels it more than she hears it. Measured not in months, but in moments she now replays differently. Every late night, every missed call, every silence that once felt temporary and now feels intentional. Her gaze does not shift, not to the woman, not to the room, only to Daniel Whitmore, as if holding eye contact is the last form of control she has left, and for a second neither of them speaks, because there is nothing clean left to say, only truth stripped of comfort. Daniel adjusts his posture slightly, not defensive, not apologetic, just composed. As if this conversation belongs in a boardroom rather than a home, he begins to explain again, not loudly, not aggressively, but with the same calm authority he uses when negotiating deals. He talks about timing, about how he planned to handle this differently, about how stress is not good for her condition. The words sound careful, almost considerate on the surface, but underneath there is distance, a deliberate separation between responsibility and consequence. Emily listens, her face still, her breathing steady, but something deeper has shifted now, something final. She realizes that he is not trying to fix anything. He is trying to manage the outcome, to shape the narrative before it fully forms, and that realization lands harder than anything else, because it confirms what she had been avoiding, that she is no longer part of the decision, only part of the aftermath. The woman beside him moves slightly closer, not touching him, but aligning herself with him in a way that feels practiced, intentional, her presence no longer uncertain. She speaks again, softer this time, as if attempting to smooth the edges of the situation, but her words carry a subtle certainty. She talks about moving forward, about how things will be handled, as if Emily is already outside of this life, as if the future has already been reassigned. Emily finally looks at her then, just briefly, and in that glance there is no anger, no raised voice, only recognition. Recognition of someone who stepped into a space that was left unguarded. And for a moment the room feels impossibly small, too small, to hold the weight of what is unfolding. Emily shifts her stance slightly, one hand resting more firmly against her stomach now, grounding herself not in the past, but in what still remains hers, something that has not been negotiated away, not yet. She asks another question, quieter than before but sharper. She asks what he expects her to do, and Daniel answers without hesitation, his voice even, controlled. He says they will make arrangements, that he will ensure she is taken care of, that everything will be handled appropriately. The words sound generous, structured, but they carry the tone of a transaction, not a relationship. And that is the moment everything becomes clear, not in a dramatic break, not in raised voices, but in the absence of them. Emily nods once, slowly, not in agreement, but in understanding. Understanding that the man in front of her is no longer someone she can reach, and that whatever comes next will not be decided in this room. The silence stretches again. But this time it is different, heavier, final, and without another word, Emily turns, not rushing, not stumbling, just walking away with a steadiness that feels unfamiliar even to her. She moves down the hallway, past the polished surfaces and quiet corners, back toward the one room that still holds something untouched by this moment. And behind her the conversation does not follow, because there is nothing left to say that matters. And as she steps back into the nursery, the soft light welcomes her without question, the small red indicator still blinking in its steady rhythm, capturing everything, preserving every second that led to this turning point, because some endings do not arrive with noise, they arrive with clarity, and once seen, they cannot be unseen. The nursery feels different now, not because anything has changed, but because everything has. Emily Carter closes the door behind her with a quiet click that sounds louder than it should, sealing off the rest of the house, sealing off the voices, the explanations, the version of reality that no longer fits. She stands there for a moment, her hand still resting on the door as if testing whether it will hold, whether anything in this place can still hold. The soft amber light washes over the room, unchanged, innocent, the crib untouched, the blankets folded neatly, the small stuffed bear sitting in the corner exactly where she left it. And for a brief second the contrast feels unbearable. How something so gentle can exist in the same space as something that just broke apart. Her breathing slows again, deliberate, practiced, for seconds in, for seconds out. She moves forward, each step quieter than the last, until she reaches the crib and places both hands along its edge, grounding herself, not in the past, not in what just happened, but in what still exists, something real, something that has not shifted beneath her feet. The baby moves slightly, a small, almost imperceptible motion, and that is enough to steady her, enough to remind her that not everything in her world has been decided without her. She exhales slowly, her shoulders lowering just a fraction, and for the first time since the conversation began, her mind becomes clear, not overwhelmed, not scattered, but focused. She looks around the room, really looks, taking in every detail as if she is seeing it for the first time. The camera on the shelf, the small red light blinking with quiet consistency, one pulse every 3 seconds, steady, patient, reliable in a way nothing else has been. She watches it for a moment longer than necessary, her gaze narrowing slightly, not out of suspicion but out of realization, because somewhere deep beneath the surface of everything that just happened, a thought begins to form, not loud, not immediate, but undeniable. The room has not been silent. It has been witnessed, every word, every pause. Every choice made outside these walls has left a trace, and that trace exists somewhere beyond this house, beyond Daniel, beyond anything he can control. She straightens slowly, her hand moving from the crib to her side, her posture shifting in a way that is almost imperceptible but entirely different. The uncertainty that filled her earlier has not disappeared, but it has changed shape, becoming something steadier, something sharper. She walks toward the shelf and stops just short of touching the camera, her fingers hovering for a second before lowering again, because she does not need to confirm what she already knows. She has seen the angle, she has seen the placement, she understands what it captures, and more importantly, she understands what it protects. The silence in the room feels different now. Not empty, not suffocating, but full of possibility, of consequence, of something that has already begun moving beyond her reach. Somewhere far from this quiet nursery, a file continues to exist, stored, backed up, secured, untouched by emotion or hesitation, waiting for the moment it becomes more than just data, waiting for the moment it reaches the one person who will not ignore it. Emily turns away from the camera and walks back toward the center of the room, her steps steady, her breathing even, and though nothing outside that door has changed yet, something inside her has. Something quiet but irreversible, because some realizations do not come with noise, they come with stillness, and in that stillness, decisions are made that will not be undone. Some truths do not arrive with a warning. They arrive as a notification, silent, precise, impossible to ignore, and more than 1,000 miles away in a glass-walled office overlooking downtown Chicago, Victor Carter's phone lights up with a single alert that interrupts nothing and yet changes everything. He does not react immediately, not because he did not see it, but because men like him do not rush toward uncertainty. They observe first. They measure. His desk is clear except for a tablet, a fountain pen, and a framed photo turned slightly away from direct view. The city outside moves in its usual rhythm. Traffic flowing, lights shifting, unaware that somewhere in that moment a different kind of movement has already begun. The notification is simple, almost forgettable, a secure system update, a new file uploaded, tagged automatically under a private network he had insisted remain active long after his daughter told him she did not need it anymore. He glances at the screen again, just once, and something in the timestamp holds his attention, not the file name, not the size, just the time, recent. Too recent. His hand reaches for the tablet with the same calm precision he uses in negotiations. No urgency, no visible concern, but his focus sharpens, narrowing to a single point. The file opens without resistance, the connection secure, the image loading frame by frame. And at first there is nothing remarkable. A softly lit room, neutral colors, a crib positioned carefully in the center. The kind of scene designed to represent safety, continuity, expectation. Victor watches without expression, his face still, his posture unchanged. But his eyes do not blink as often now, because he recognizes the room, not from memory, but from design, from the details his team once reviewed when the house was built. And then the frame shifts, not dramatically, just enough to reveal movement. Two figures entering the edge of the scene, voices faint, indistinct, the audio low but present. And Victor adjusts the volume slightly, not rushing, not skipping ahead. He watches in real time. Every second allowed to unfold exactly as it was recorded. Because information means nothing if it is not understood completely. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly, not in anger, not yet, but in recognition of a situation that is no longer hypothetical, no longer distant. The room in the footage remains calm, the lighting unchanged, but the interaction inside it carries weight, carries intention, and Victor does not look away, not when the voices overlap, not when the tension ends. The frame becomes undeniable even without raised volume. He watches it once, then again, rewinding with the same deliberate motion, confirming details, confirming sequence, confirming that what he is seeing is not misinterpreted, because men like him do not act on assumption. They act on certainty, and certainty builds quietly, frame by frame, second by second. Outside his office the city continues as if nothing has shifted, but inside that room the air has changed, something invisible settling into place, something that does not require words to be understood. Victor sets the tablet down slowly, not closing the file, not dismissing the image, just letting it remain there, present, undeniable. His fingers rest lightly against the surface of the desk, still, composed, but there is a difference now, something colder, something more focused, because some moments do not demand reaction. They demand response, and response, when done correctly, does not begin with noise. It begins with silence. Morning does not announce itself in the Whitmore residence. It arrives quietly through tall glass windows and polished surfaces, light stretching across marble floors as if nothing in the house has changed. But everything has. Daniel Whitmore stands in his office reviewing numbers that no longer align the way they did the night before. The screen in front of him shows minor fluctuations at first, a contract delayed, a partner requesting clarification, a routine inconvenience in a world where problems are usually solved before they become visible. But then another notification appears, and another, subtle at first, then stacking, patterns forming where there should be stability. His brow tightens slightly, not concern, not yet, just recognition that something is out of place. His phone vibrates once, a call from his legal team. He answers with the same controlled tone he always uses, expecting efficiency, expecting answers. But the voice on the other end carries something different. Hesitation, measured words. They mention an inquiry, quiet but formal, request for documentation, a review initiated without prior notice. Daniel listens without interrupting, his expression unchanged, but his grip on the phone tightens just enough to register. He asks who initiated it, and the answer comes after a brief pause. Not a name spoken loudly, not emphasized, just stated, Victor Carter. And in that moment, the room feels smaller, not physically, but strategically, because Daniel understands exactly what that means. Not confrontation, not accusation, but precision, the kind that does not leave room for error. He ends the call quickly, not abruptly, just efficiently. And for the first time, his focus shifts away from the numbers on the screen to something less predictable, something that cannot be negotiated in a conference room. Across the city, another meeting is already underway. Attorneys reviewing footage frame by frame, not for emotion, not for reaction, but for evidence, for sequence, for confirmation. Documents are being prepared, statements drafted, all without noise, all without announcement. Because the most effective actions are the ones that happen before anyone realizes they have begun. Back at the house, Emily Carter moves through the same rooms that felt so different just hours ago. Her steps steady, her expression calm, not because nothing matters, but because everything does, and clarity has replaced confusion. She no longer checks her phone for messages that will not come. She no longer waits for explanations that have already been given. Instead, she focuses on what is in front of her, what she can control. The nursery remains unchanged. The small red light no longer just a quiet observer, but a turning point, something that connected her world to something larger, something stronger. She pauses for a moment, her hand resting gently against her stomach, feeling a small movement that reminds her of what still belongs to her, what still moves forward regardless of everything else. Outside the house, a black car slows briefly before continuing down the street, unnoticed, unremarkable. But inside it, a man reviews a file one more time, confirming details before action becomes visible, because timing matters, and the right moment is not rushed, it is chosen. By midday, the first public signs begin to appear, subtle shifts that only those paying attention would notice. A partnership quietly withdrawn, a scheduled announcement postponed, a name removed from a list that once guaranteed stability. Daniel sees it all, piece by piece, understanding forming. Not through confrontation, but through consequence. And somewhere far from the noise of business and reputation, Victor Carter stands once more in his office, looking out over the city with the same calm expression he had the night before. Nothing in his posture suggests victory. Nothing in his tone when he speaks to his team suggests satisfaction. Because this was never about reaction, never about anger. It was about correction, about balance, about ensuring that what was hidden does not remain that way. And as the day moves forward, as systems continue to shift and align, one thing becomes clear without anyone needing to say it out loud. Some men do not lose everything in a moment of chaos. They lose it in silence, piece by piece, the exact same way they thought they could keep it.